unless you want Greenland to turn into a island akin to Little St. James for all of our psychopathic tech billionaires to come in and do whatever the fuck they want to, like a libertarian anarcho-capitalist paradise, you must develop nukes now. It's crazy. And then we sit here and act like we're not the most propagandized country on the planet. It's the best propaganda because it's the most effective propaganda, because good propaganda doesn't even let you believe that you're reading propaganda. It makes you feel like you're learning the truth. That's how good propaganda works. Hassan, like now they got the Iranian government saying outsider group is killing people, not us. Like, come on, man. If anyone believes this shit, they have a potato in their brain. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't real Iranian elements that are fighting back against the government with arms. Yeah, of course the government's going to say that. Every government lies. This government is lying. The Islamic Republic is lying. They're using what Israel is saying. That's why I said it's really interesting that Israel is like leaning into this shit. But they're using what Israel has said or what America has said as a justification for why they're killing people. They're doing that. Average Americans just see Muslim region of the world and probably don't even understand the difference between Saudi and Iran. Is so easy. It's easy propaganda. Yes. Yeah. Cheney Rumsfeld admin plan to attack 7 countries: Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, and Lebanon. Anyway, so is it them being paranoid? I mean, it's also them wanting to violently suppress the protests so that the protesters think twice before ever resisting militarily against the Islamic Republic. That's the reason why they're killing people.
Look at this map of Greenland.
Oh yeah, we got Greenland. We got the Greenland stuff that we got to talk about as well. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, this has been playing nonstop in the background. I forgot. We have, I think we've sufficiently discussed Iran over and over again, and I don't know if it's going to be productive to continue talking about it, but I will give you more updates when there are more updates. But now let's get back to the other coast of American empire and its imperial endeavors. We're talking about the IRI needs to grapple with its disdain for leftism more than its disdain for liberalism. Your theory of releasing the liberal pressure valve is marginal at best. Their goal of increasing productive forces in contradiction with their anti-communism. I mean, I agree with that too, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, Iran is not doing revolution the right way, okay? The reality of the matter is I want people to be sovereign, and I don't want them to be dogs of Israel, okay? I don't want them to be dogs of America. I don't want them to be dogs of Israel. I want them to have true sovereignty and true freedom, okay? But yes, I do believe that if Iran wasn't, if the Islamic Republic was not the great commie annihilating nation, they probably would have had a more successful organizational capacity inside of the country right now. All you get at best is just like voting for reformists over and over again, and then nothing changes. And then, of course, when people don't have that pressure valve that you get through the democratic process, you end up revolting. What makes you think we'll be dogs of Israel? I didn't say that. I'm saying that's the worst option. Do you agree that that's the worst option? You get the same level of repression, especially because, let's say there's these different factions, right? You got the MEK on one side, and you got the Shah on the other side, okay? Now the Shah writers are saying, oh, we will have a secular, liberal, monarchist republic or something, like the Shah will come in. Okay, what do you do with like 20 million Iranians that are like, the f*** do you mean? We already revolted against this. We're going to kill him. Now you need troops. Now you need Western troops to protect the Shah, as they did last time. Now you need the same exact repressive state apparatus that will find people and torture them. Okay? Maybe they'll offer some level of secularism, as a red meat for the base to say, look, you got, we're releasing some of the sanctions and you're going to get some level of secularism, secularization. Isn't that wonderful? That's what you wanted. Okay. What happens when all of the other forces are like, well, I don't want that. The f do you mean? You just brought the Shah back? You have American troops now in Tehran that are like maintaining this regime? F that. They're going to start literally murking American troops. What happens to Iran then? What happens when you have Sunni forces that come into Iran? Because now there is a power vacuum that has been established. Because I think one of the other factors that we're not even considering is Sunni militancy that has wreaked havoc in the entire region. Who's Iran's number 2 op if it's not Israel? Israel's number 1 op, right? Who's number 2 op for Iran? Saudi Arabia. What happens when you have ISIS inside of Iran? Now America has to definitely put boots on the ground because now they have to fight ISIS as well. Mass instability. Do you think Iran gets saved in that process? Do you think Iran is going to look better in that process? There is no clean break here.
President Trump just said the United States needs Greenland and that anything less than total control is unacceptable. The question is, what is he willing to do about it? Given that the Prime Minister of Greenland says he does not want to be part of the United States, the people of Greenland do not want to be part of the United States, according to opinion polls. So the president just wrote that Greenland is, quote, vital for the golden dome that we are building and that NATO would be far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. And then he said that anything less than that is unacceptable. Again, how?
Yeah, the Inuit are being oppressed by Denmark that is stealing their babies nonstop. We must free Greenland, obviously. That was one of my best locks. Listen, I'm not very good, as we've seen, of predicting what this unstable madman regime is doing around the world. But I did tell you how they will sell it. If you recall, that's precisely how I told you America was going to try to sell it. Now, of course, they're not doing that because Donald Trump doesn't give a f about trying to justify why they're doing it. A liberalized version of this propaganda would be, we are liberating Greenland from the treacherous Denmarkian, from being the treacherous Denmark colonial outpost that it's become. We are liberating Greenland the right way, okay? With bombs, of course. Yes, we must bomb Copenhagen for freedom. My people yearn for freedom. My people in Greenland yearn for freedom.
Unacceptable. And what will he do about it? Today, Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio are set to meet with the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark, which Greenland.
This shit is so sad and cooks me because the Greenland students are literally saying, please don't make us U.S. citizens. We don't want to lose our health care and education like we're the boogeyman. Because we are the boogeyman. We are the boogeyman. We are the one who knocks. It's true. They literally have bountiful social democracy to the best of their ability in Europe, and that's also going away. But like they do, they have it. They have social democracy over there. They don't want American-style freedoms, and they will learn. They will learn to love those American-style freedoms. A hamburger store in every corner, okay? That's right. You're going to eat the burger, and you're going to like it. You.
Is apart. The White House meeting is a first between the three governments, and
no
the presence
more free
of J.D. Vance is
That's
notable. Ukrainian President
repression.
Volodymyr Zelensky can tell you that Vice President Vance has created a scene or two at high-level meetings. Our Nick Robertson is standing by in Greenland. First, though, let's go to the White House. CNN's Elena Trina is there. Elena.
Yeah, look, a very stark message, John, from the president this morning. And the timing of it, of course, very notable with this meeting that you laid out between Secretary Rubio, the vice president, and the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland. Look, just to break this down, this is an issue and something that really President Trump has wanted for many years now. It goes back actually to his first term. I'd remind you, the president then had talked a lot about wanting to annex Greenland. All of those efforts were unsuccessful, but it's gotten a renewed focus, particularly in the days since that Venezuela operation, something that has left the president feeling emboldened. Now, just to break down why the president and the people in that building behind me feel so strongly about trying to annex Greenland from Denmark, which, to be clear, Denmark has made repeatedly clear that it is not for sale, Greenland, but they want it for national security reasons. Essentially, the argument that has been made to me over and over again and when I've talked about this with top officials in the administration, is that one, they want to counter Russian and Chinese aggression in the region, but they also see it as critical as part of their missile defense system. Essentially, one of the arguments that Vance has laid out publicly as well is that, you know, if a foreign adversary wanted to launch, for example, a nuclear weapon onto the continent of North America or even to Europe, Greenland and having an important presence there would be crucial to having the missile defense system trying to intercept that. And so this is something they've talked a lot about. Now, I think a key question, of course, is it's clear what the president wants here, and he's repeatedly making that clear publicly. What isn't clear...
Don't worry, we the Portuguese will defend Greenland. We may not have nukes, no weapons whatsoever, but we'll do it with wine and socialism. Dude, listen. America is coming. Listen to Greenlander voices. Where's the Greenland? Being colonized in 2026 is actually so embarrassing. No, they're welcoming us as liberators. You guys, shut the f up. They are welcoming us as liberators. I will not have any of this, okay? They want us. They want us bad. They want me. They want me. They want us to take control over all of the resources of Greenland. It is vital. It is vital for the Golden Dome that we're building. They want us. They want us. They want us to take away their health care. They want us. Stop saying that's not the case. It's true. It's true. We will move the shipping lanes. We will move the money. We will move the shipping lanes. We will move the Greenland natural resources. It's going to happen. Okay?
Take a look at this map of Greenland if you want to understand why Trump wants to take it over so badly. Trump says that it's all about national security.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic.
But that's not the full story. The US doesn't need to take over Greenland for national security at all. The US already has military installations in Greenland, and Greenland is governed by Denmark, a NATO ally. Greenland, like Venezuela, has significant oil and mineral wealth that Trump wants. Greenland has massive deposits of rare earth minerals that the United States currently has to depend on China for, resources that US tech and energy companies would love to get their hands on as they...
I don't think that's like... I think that's not the whole story. The reason why I say that is because, like, extracting those rare earth minerals are so difficult out of Greenland. We can get it elsewhere. They're not as rare as the name would imply. The real problem is actually not the real problem is the procurement and refinement. Like, it's not exactly an issue to find these rare earth minerals. It's an issue because the refinement process is expensive. It's costly. Well, it's not expensive and costly in China, but it's expensive and costly elsewhere. And China actually dominates the entirety of that market. They've completely monopolized it. Even from that perspective, like putting, trying to take over Greenland in its entirety just for the rare earth minerals is like not the entire story at all, I think. I would go so far as to say that like new trade routes opening as a consequence of climate change would be a more likely scenario. I actually disagree with more perfect union here. These minerals are too hard to get in the first place, but they also just aren't actually rare. Yes, they're too hard to get in Greenland, at least with the current weather conditions. They're too hard to extract from Greenland as opposed to all these other places. You got what, like a 3-month window to get these things out of there? It's too difficult. You would have to wait multiple decades for it to be feasible, the extraction to be actually feasible there. And yes, they are not rare. They're not actually rare. Contrary to the name, rare earth minerals are not necessarily rare. The problem is processing, not extraction. The real reason is likely just projecting power in the Arctic and controlling shipping lanes and defense. That's what I think as well. I think this is America's like long-term strategy.
Seek to massively expand and profit off of artificial intelligence. And the US government thinks that Greenland likely has large oil and gas deposits off its coastline, but the government of Greenland has stopped giving out licenses for oil and gas exploration. And recently they stopped a lot of mining exploration too, due to environmental concerns. So if Greenland...
Oh, they're woke and gay. We have to dominate them. Never mind. I didn't realize they were being woke and gay about extraction. Yeah, I'm on board now. Sorry. Yeah, you're looking extractable, Greenland. Yeah, imagine the data centers we can build there, you know? You don't even need to cool it. It's just a self-cooling data center. Yeah. No, they said I didn't realize it was like that. Sorry guys, I take it back.
In U.S. hands, these roadblocks to U.S. companies would disappear. Companies working in Greenland are already seeing a boost at the suggestion of U.S. control. Critical metals and energy transition minerals stock both jumped over 25% just this week. Big tech billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are already invested in companies like Cobalt Metals, which holds mining rights in Western Greenland and secured $500 million in new funding right when Trump got back into office. And weirdly, a lot of this push to take Greenland seems to be coming from Estee Lauder heir Ronald Lauder, a longtime Trump ally and a billionaire who apparently first introduced Trump to the idea of buying Greenland at all. Lauder is, of course, quietly making investments in Greenland, like funding the Delaware-based Greenland Development Partners, a company looking to invest in hydropower projects that would power aluminum smelters in the area. Effectively, they're setting up shop for a big American push into Greenlandic minerals. Even weirder, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, and Ken Howery, the current US ambassador to Denmark, are pushing the Trump administration to take Greenland so they can create a deregulated tech freedom city in Greenland, which of course would never happen if the Danish government kept control. Maybe needless to say at this point, but none of this has anything to do with improving the lives of Americans or even the lives of Greenlanders. It's
Not the Parenti post, but this is how imperialism works. It doesn't actually help. It doesn't actually help the country that we are doing imperialism to, and it doesn't even help the home nation either. It's just only helping a handful, like a hand-selected few billionaire pedophiles, okay? Lizard people. Excuse me, Peter Thiel's just a vampire? He's a lizard vampire.
Is how they're going to approach this. This meeting, I'm told today, between Rubio, Vance, and the foreign ministers of both countries is really to kind of be a level setting, you know, see where both sides are, see what, if any, agreements could be reached, if there's any, you know, type of cooperation that could be made. Rubio has made clear in the past that really it's the preference of the administration.
Greek here, when are you giving back Constantinople says spicy spanakopita? Never. You can pry from my cold dead hands.
To see if they could potentially buy Greenland, for example, even after, again, the Danish prime minister and the leaders of both Denmark and Greenland.
When you say stuff on stream, do you take into consideration what a group of people want you to say, or do you go your own way 100%? What do you think? Considering that I spend like 90% of the stream yelling at people after I deliver my take, do you think I actually listen to the outsiders, outside forces, or do you think I just speak my mind?
Saying it's not for sale, but seeing if they could, you know, potentially make a deal that way. I will say, though, however, President Trump has repeatedly now not left a potential military option off the table. And so that has, you know, I think that raises a lot of concerns as these leaders are coming to the White House today. So it's going to be a very important meeting, potentially the first of many conversations, but we'll really have to see where it all leads, John.
All right, Elena Trine at the White House. Elena, thank you very much. Sarah.
All right, let's go now to CNN's international diplomatic editor, Nick Robertson. He is on the ground for us in Greenland. Nick, the Prime Minister of Greenland very bluntly said he...
Oh, that's the job, dude. Oh, my God, that's so funny. You just have to go to Greenland now. It's cold as...
He does not want to be owned by the United States. The President of the United States saying that if they don't do it the easy way, they're going to do it the hard way. The big picture here is what's happening with the people of Greenland. What are they saying?
Yeah, they're incredibly concerned, and I think the latest language used by President Trump is going to be even more chilling. Everyone here has been telling us this meeting with the Danish and Greenlandic foreign ministers, with J.D. Vance, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio today is a big meeting. It is a big deal. It has everyone here worried. You know, when you speak to people here, it is very clear. No one wants to be part of the United States. Perhaps there are divisions on the independence side of how quickly the country should move to independence, which is a sort of an overwhelming view. But the Prime Minister has made, as you said, made very, very clear, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland, therefore, is part of the EU and part of NATO. And that's where they look for support, and that's where they look for their strength. But having spoken to a good number of people here, it's a huge concern because they don't have an army here. They don't have the ability to fight back against the United States. And there's a very real concern, even within government, that the president could make good on what he's saying and that Greenlanders could wake up one day soon and find out they're American. I spoke to one businesswoman here, and this is what she said to me.
Simply the name nuke is not enough. You couldn't fool the Americans. Aha, Greenland, you thought you were slick. You said, oh, let's name the major city nuke. And then Americans will think we have a nuke. No, you have to start enriching uranium right now. You have to start enriching uranium yesterday. You have to start developing an intercontinental ballistic missile that is capable of striking the American heartland. You have to do that yesterday, not tomorrow, yesterday. Greenland, you must develop nukes instantly. Simply calling your major city nuke is not enough. It probably fooled Americans because we're very for at least a little bit of time, but it wasn't enough. You got to actually get a nuke. Put a nuke inside of nuke. Okay? Rule number 1. Unless you want Greenland to turn into a island akin to Little St. James for all of our psychopathic tech billionaires to come in and do whatever the fuck they want to, like a libertarian anarcho-capitalist paradise, you must develop nukes now.
If you don't know which country you're living in a month, then...
Is that real for you right now?
No, I don't want it to be real. I really try to push that thought down. But that is the worst case scenario that, you know, in a month I'm American. We don't even have military in Greenland.
It's so funny to be like, this is a terrifying prospect. Please don't make us American. Haven't we suffered enough? We've already been Danish. We've already been considered Danish for the longest time. And now you want to make us American. I don't want to be American. It's brutal. It's the worst fate of it all, of all time, okay?
Because we don't do war. So, of course, you know, there would be... I don't know, you know, we wouldn't be able to resist the American military. No one can resist the American military.
So the big question here for people is, how does the meeting go today?
Oh, she doesn't know. You won't be an American, sweetie. You won't be able to vote and won't get any of the benefits, but you will be American. Yeah, Puerto Rican style. That's probably what will take place. Like, you'll have freedom of movement, I assume, because they're white, right? So, like, or white enough. So they'll have like some kind of freedom of movement, but they won't actually be able to vote for the president or whatever unless they move to the mainland.
It seems that both sides are in a very clear position, poles apart. Everyone here knows that J.D. Vance has been to Greenland before. It is a very big thing on his personal as well as political agenda. The Greenlandic Danish side are not for backing down. That's very clear. So the question people have here is, well, how far will the EU, how far will NATO go to support us? And I think it's fair to say at the moment that the major military northern NATO members are squarely behind Denmark, Greenland. There's a question mark perhaps over some of the others.
Yeah, a lot of people wondering how this is going to...
Greenland is about 90% Inuit, but many of them look kind of white. Yeah. Inuit equals... That's the next excuse.
And what that might...
Well, they do have MS-13 style tattoos too, so you already got that on deck. You know what I mean? The Inuit separatist movement must be squashed, okay? It must be destroyed militarily. They do not understand that we're there as liberators, okay? They're going to welcome us as liberators. They don't get it. They don't understand that we're actually there to democratize Greenland, okay? They already got hand tats and face tats. It's already scary. Trend at Arctica
look like. Nick Robertson, thank you so much.
Joining me right now is a member of Greenland's parliament, Juno Berthelsen. Thank you so much for coming back on. Juno, how do you respond to
they
what we
got parliament members with face tats, dude. Americans are already on board. Like they're just the craziest thing is like the American government isn't even trying to make these arguments, okay? They're not. Like the Bush administration, if they were to do something like this, or Obama, if they were to do something like this, right? Like they would at least like try to present an argument. They would try to manufacture consent. They'd be like, oh, they have Greenland has the weapons of mass destruction or whatever. Like, what, you know, they are they've been colonized by Denmark for far too long. We must liberate them. All this stuff. Not even entertaining it. Not even entertaining any of that. They're just like, it's mine. I want it. F you.
Now just hear the latest from the president. And what do you think it means for the Greenland and Danish leaders who are what they're walking into now in this White House meeting?
That isn't a tattoo.
Good morning, Kate. Thank you for having me on.
I'm a dumb American hog. What do you mean that isn't a tattoo? It looks like a tattoo to me, brother. This is MS-14.
Show, first of all. Well, we think that it's very positive that Greenland's Minister for Foreign Affairs represents the Greenlandic people at the meeting. And of course, positive with the diplomatic dialogue being initiated, which Nelarak, our party, has advocated for a long time. And it's important to say that Greenland is and wants to be a part of the Western Alliance and continue to be an ally of the U.S. as well as an ally of NATO and Denmark. We are through Greenland being a part of the currently a part of the Danish kingdom. Is in NATO, and Greenland has been an ally of the U.S. since the Second World War. We're allies now, and we will stay allies in the future. So that will be the most important things that we would hope would be communicated at the meeting, and that there will be understanding between Greenland and the U.S.
But hearing the president of the United States set the tone going in, and the vice president, as we know, from experience, does not really differ from President Trump and his views, especially in policy. When the president of the United States says anything less than Greenland being in the hands of the United States is unacceptable, I mean, you may see this meeting as progress, but what do you see do you see that as a new threat from the president of the United States?
Well, we just want to make sure that these diplomatic lines are being used and that they're initiated now. What is being said to the media, and I've done a lot of interviews with media from all around the world, saying that Trump has his own style and has a way of creating headlines and saying these things that kind of create outrage. But I think it's important to remember that both Republicans and Democrats are not in support of having this aggressive rhetoric and the advances that we've seen from and some of his high positioned people in his administration. We have to remember that a lot of Republicans, which are creating the background for Trump to be in the position that he is, they do want to seek diplomatic solutions. They don't want to hear any talks about invasion of Greenland and destroying the NATO that we see today, and creating any more tension between the United States and Denmark and the rest of the world, especially countries from NATO. So the most important thing for me to say is that the Greenlandic people is using its right to speak on behalf of itself. We have our minister at the meeting represented the Greenland.
Thank you for not making an entire stream about influencer and streamer drama. There are so many insane things happening around the world. Any content creator that spends any amount of time in this day and age when Trump is like entertaining bombing Iran, the Islamic Republic has violently stamped out all the protests that have taken place in the country, is dominating Minneapolis in an effort to, one, distract away from the Epstein files, and also to basically test out how hard they can go without Americans actually pushing back. And on top of that, Trump is entertaining the colonial occupation of Greenland. Any content creator that says that they are primarily a political commentator in this day and age, in this moment, that spends any amount of time entertaining drama is not a real political commentator. They're just deeply unserious. They just want to farm some of the dumbest on the planet. That's it. Anyone that does this, that then tries to claim that they are a serious political content creator should never be taken seriously. And before people say you did that yesterday, like I was looking at the clip channels and stuff, right? I do 8 hours of 8 hours of fucking news broadcasts. Yes, there are instances where it's not going to be all news. I did that after covering 7 hours of ongoing incidents, both in the United States of America and around the world. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that there is not going to be instances where I, switch gears a little bit. Did you cover Aiden Ross yesterday? Yeah, I did. 32-month subscriber. I did. After, it was a 7-hour day. After 6 hours of covering the news, I did 1 hour of Aiden Ross. Take an hour off. Asian Ross. Yeah, the Joe Budden segment was awesome.
We, the Kingdom of Denmark, continue to believe that also the long-term security of Greenland can be ensured inside the current framework, the 1951 agreement on the defense of Greenland, as well as the NATO treaty. For us, ideas that would not respect territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark and the right of self-determination of the Greenlandic people are, of course, totally unacceptable. And we therefore still have a fundamental disagreement, but we also agree to disagree. And therefore we will, however, continue to talk.
You've talked yourself into a corner here. I don't think you understand, brother. 6 hours of everything that's going on is sufficient. 6 hours of drama is not. A lot of these content creators actually spend, they go live for like 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, and they spend every waking moment talking about drama, like dumb drama. These are deeply unserious people who basically slap on the patina of doing real political commentary, but instead are just simply doing drama. And the reason why they have to claim that they're doing this as accountability, or they have to do this as like political disagreements being addressed. The reason why they do that, most people would laugh at them if they were just simply saying, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy at all. And the reason why I'm talking about this nonstop is because I have a personal resentment. Okay? I have a personal resentment towards this individual. I don't like him. My friends don't like him. And that's the reason why I'm talking about him nonstop. That's the reason why I'm disparaging him nonstop. Breaking. Hasanabi agrees to disagree with a bad faith derailer chatter. Yeah. At best, my coverage over like other content creators or drama or whatever the fuck is at best 10% of this broadcast.
We have decided to form a high-level working group to explore.
He's talking politics and getting mad when he gets corrected. No, I'm literally in the process of talking politics, and that chatter just wants to argue with me.
If we can find a common way forward. Even though we wasn't so successful that we reached, a conclusion where our American colleagues said, "Oh, sorry, it was totally misunderstanding. We gave up on our ambitions." There's clearly a disagreement. We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president, while we at the same time respect the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark.
Yeah, they will definitely not do that. They are not respecting any red lines. Let's be real. Is it drama, though? Because sadly, those guys in the ideology are spilling onto the normal world. Yeah, that's why I bracket off Asmongold as a separate actor. If you're talking about that, then that's different. But if you're talking about like Hutch or Ethan Klein or any number of like different liberals, their ideology is not seeping into the real world. As a matter of fact, they have changed trajectory. They've come to our side in their expression, in their anger, in their resentment towards the Trump administration, rather than hyper-focusing on a bunch of people to the left of them. So in that regard, they have no real motion. You got wine moms who are self-IDing as liberals going out and doing ICE Watch. You got wine moms. You got the Radical Karen Coalition that is out there getting in the face of ICE agents on a daily basis. You got wine moms who are demanding more from the Democratic Party. Liberals are not actually winning the political conversation right now. They are becoming a part of the anti-fascist coalition. They are becoming bigger fans of Zoran and AOC than Chuck Schumer. So if you want to bracket this off as like ideological delineations on the left, if you consider the liberals to be a part of the left flank, of the two major political planks in this country, then our side, or at least representatives that are closer to our ideology, are absolutely some of the most popular political figures and popular political actors in this nation right now. The people that have spent the last election cycle riding the DNC into oblivion have no real working representation amongst the base of support in the Democratic Party right now. The Bernie-crats have infinitely more motion in the eyes of the public than the establishment Democrats do. The establishment Democrats are seen as like poisonous for the most part. The sequence of defeats that the Democrats have brought by saying we got to be more centrist, we got to be more moderate over and over again has caused many of the voters to finally recognize that that's a lie. So while there are liberal content creators out there who are still maintaining this like weird centrist posture, they're simply following our lead. They're following our lead. They're following from behind. And even at first, they might turn around and say stuff like, why are the Podjons platforming Hassan? He's a dangerous terrorist. Electoral victories end up creating this environment where they have to fall in line. This has always been my assessment. I've always said, no one is actually a Joe Biden supporter through and through. They're a party supporter. They like the Democratic Party. They like the Democratic Party. They support the Democratic Party. So if the Democratic Party tomorrow became a communist party, they would support the Communist Democratic Party. Obviously, this is an extreme example. It's not going to happen. But they support the regime. What do you want, passionate tea drinker? I got a little info from Denmark. Check logs. I got a little tidbit for you. While the Danish government exploited their fishing as Denmark and EU are dependent on keeping the fish prices low, but the catch is Greenland has been made dependent on money from Denmark in order to survive, as their main income is from fishing. In 2023 alone, they earned Denmark 6 billion Danish krones. Hey, Danish here, just to let you know, the Danish defense has sent resources to help Greenland's defense. This includes military materials. Concern doesn't cover what the Danish people feel they are preparing, which is hilarious because Denmark colonized Greenland, tried to commit an ethnocide, and forcefully removing kids from their homes. Yes, I am aware of this. And I suspect that given the choice between being Danish and being American, it kind of feels like, Hassan, you were featured on the Foreign Report podcast this past week. What's the Foreign Report podcast? They would rather stay in Europe than get liberated by America. Of course, the reality of the matter is, will Europe do anything if Trump moves? No. At most, they'll say, oh, you're disbanding NATO. Those are threats. I don't think there's any real action behind those threats.
The press...
We already watched
We
this.
have already said that we wanted to do more trade and more opportunities together with America. So I'm not sure why he wanted to invade us and take us over, but we are saying no, thank you. Kindly, please don't take us over. We will work together with you as the good allies we have always been.
There's simply no such thing.
I am reminded of Mark Rutte, the current leader of NATO, calling Donald Trump daddy in text messages, in private text messages. And when those text messages were leaked by Donald Trump, who loved being called daddy, he turned around and said, yeah, I did say that. Just understand what the NATO position is, okay? Mark Rutte called Trump daddy.
As a better colonizer. And this whole talk about buying Greenland or taking over Greenland to us has very clear connotations to ways of viewing the world that are long gone, an imperialistic superiority approach. So there's no doubt about Greenland being organized in a constitutional model that is coherent and recognized by...
Please entertain me. I don't understand. What's the talk about? Someone came up and wants to take your land. You're saying no. What's the talk about? The talk is for liberals that still masquerade as though there is some international order. And this is anything but might makes right politics. For the longest time, America has at least entertained the notion that Europe has any sort of sovereignty. Okay? That time is passing. We are now saying the quiet part out loud. For years and years, I said, the Europeans don't understand that they're vassal states. And Europeans got very mad at me. Europeans in my chat got very mad at me. Some of them became Asmongold watchers, as a matter of fact. Some of them became Destiny watchers, as a matter of fact. European liberals would get mad at me all the time. I would say, look, Europe is vassal. Europe is is a sequence of vassal states that are completely colonial by America, by the American empire. And people get super mad. Once again, I was right, but too early. And I get it. It's not necessarily that, I was being harsh. I was being harsh when I said it. But sometimes you need to hear the truth. Donald Trump is doing away with the polite conversations. It's ironic because if he were to continue entertaining the polite conversations, Europe would play ball anyway because they are still vassals. Did you just say Europe won't do anything if Trump invades Greenland? So you really think they'll just let him take Greenland? I don't think Trump will take Greenland, but if he does, once we are at that point, I think NATO goes to war with Trump. NATO goes to war with America? There is no NATO without America. NATO, I'm going to do this one more time. And I know this is a tricky one, especially because, understandably, a lot of Europeans are fearful of Russian domination, right? NATO is America. NATO is an extension of American might. NATO is a protection racket that the American government has designed first to fight against the USSR during the Cold War, and then to fight against Russia. There is no NATO. There is no NATO without America. First of all, I ain't drop the condescending. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you realize the U.S. taking Greenland is equally insane at that point. All bets are off to a large extent. I'm from Sweden, and a lot of Europeans think NATO is a European alliance. Lol. It's a European alliance that seemingly demands more money from Europe in exchange for American weapons that America has, almost complete control over, that ends up having American military bases in your country, American espionage facilities inside of your country that you have no control over. And it's all actually Europe. They have complete control over this stuff for sure. The beat between you and Asmin is scripted, and you have no way to prove me wrong. Yeah, totally. I scripted some of the dumbest people on the planet to come in here and call me a dog murderer every day. I love that. I love that. It's my favorite. I love having a large voice on this platform spit out some of the most toxic bile you've ever seen in your life, upping the intensity with every stream. I'm a masochist.
International law. So this huge disrespect, I think, is something that is very obvious for the vast majority of the people of Greenland.
We're hoping that some reason and some sense will come to the Trump administration. I'm not sure whom his advisors are, but they have been advising him wrongly in the security question, clearly.
Attempting to taking over Greenland by coercion or by force will stifle the democratic world as we know it, and it will no longer be about just Greenland. And I very much share the concern and the clear-headedness of the Danish Prime Minister in saying that it would be the end of the NATO alliance.
This is not a way to treat an ally and a friend. We have to do the right thing here.
Their message is written in black and white throughout the snow-covered streets of their capital. Greenland is not for sale. Unswayed by the US president's cash proposals to buy their country.
İşin komiği böyle Rusya'ya ve Amerika'ya karşı paylaşım yapan tipler normalde Türkiye'yi hiçbir boka katmamalarına rağmen bana bunlara katıyorlar. Türklerin çoğu biz gelemeyiz, vize alamayız, biz barbar Müslümanlarız falan diyorlar. Neyle ilgili? European Union'la ilgili. Bro, Europeans aren't ready for the arrogance of the American podcast government. They think being white will save them. Nah, they ain't going to be ready for this. Eurolibs thinks U.S. values democracy. I mean, yeah, Eurolibs think Europe values democracy too. It's a lie.
These residents want him to mind his own business.
What is he going to do with Greenland? He speaks of Russians and Chinese and everything in Greenlandic waters or in our country. We are only 57,000 people. There are ships around the coast from other countries, but we have never ever have any problem with these ships before.
We don't want to be a part of US, and they should leave us alone.
The prospect of being part of the United States is a definitive no for 85% of Greenland's population, according to a 2025 poll. The majority of the semi-autonomous territory have long wanted independence from Denmark, which first colonised the island in the 1700s. Now they are having to grapple with how to respond to President Trump's threat of US annexation, with or without military intervention.
We as a Greenlandic people, we are up for diplomacy, we're up for democracy, we're up for justice, and we're not going to grab the sword.
I feel bad. I shouldn't be laughing, but like it's just not like this is propaganda. These aren't real Greenlanders. I really think you should listen to more Greenlanders. All 5 of us, we're ready to join Greater Vinland. Anything else is colonial erasure of our lived experience. Greenland has suffered ever since Eric the Red was unfairly canceled in 982. This is literally the same exact like hypocritical dynamic that took place when Russia invaded Ukraine, and then everyone was on board with defending Ukraine, international human rights, all this stuff, and then October 7 happened, and then Israel started punishing all Palestinians, right? This is identical to that situation because on the one hand, you got America being like, we're taking Venezuela because it has oil and we want it. And Europe is like, thank you, Mr. President. That's such a fantastic thing that you're doing. I love that you are doing the rule of law and democracy in Venezuela. Finally, you have destroyed a ruthless tyrant. And then right at the same moment, Trump is like, also, Greenland is mine too, bitch. What are you going to do about it? And Europeans are like, wait a minute, sir. We are a nation of rules and laws. What do you mean you're taking Greenland? Excuse me. Hello? That's a NATO country. We are white. We are white. What do you mean? Not realizing that from the American perspective, it doesn't matter. This has triggered LFI France Unbound to introduce legislation for France to exit NATO. It's not very likely to pass right now, but it's a breath of fresh air in the political debate. We're doing what we can. I mean, France is one of the only major powers in Europe that has its own nuclear arsenal that has actually left NATO in the past. I mean, more power to Mélenchon, Melon Goat, my goat. So, I'm on board. I'm on board with that and fully.
Will happen. The United States will try to buy Greenland or they will invade it.
People forget, but there was a time when Europe understood what NATO was. There was a time when European powers understood that NATO was actually violating their sovereignty and denying them sovereignty and basically turning into a missile sponge for the USSR in order to advance American interests. That time is long gone. Crazier things have happened.
To think clearly.
I'm just simply stating that, like, I don't believe the current European leadership will ever seriously reconsider being a part of NATO.
And think about how can we defend our country.
Trump claims the United States needs the territory for its national security, but European leaders have expressed fears he risks global stability. French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu said Wednesday that the words of the US president should not be underestimated and that France stands in full solidarity with Denmark and the legitimate authorities of Greenland.
NATO supported Franco regime in Spain, the Cardinals dictatorship in Greece, the Salazar regime in Portugal, as well as the far-right Gladio network in Italy. So yes, I am 100% in favor of my country, France, getting the fuck out of it. Mélenchon is right. Dude, I would ride the French into oblivion if they did that. If there was a LFI-backed anti-NATO movement in France, oh my God. Because that is the only way that you actually do get out of NATO, okay? I do not believe any of these bloodless fascists will ever actually pull out of NATO. No matter how hard, like Meloni, for example, claimed that she was anti-NATO when she was running and then obviously wasn't when she became the leader of Italy, right? In the European continent, no fascist has ever genuinely and seriously considered leaving NATO. NATO is what made the fascist movements come back into power after World War II anyway. I will stop my French slander. I already love Mélenchon. You guys know this. That's my goat. I wish we had a Mélenchon in America. An American Mélenchon. Oh my God. Oh God. I would hug and kiss him every day.
The Arctic town of Ilulissat hasn't seen the sun for 2 months. Since November, the polar night has kept this community in western Greenland in near complete darkness. Sekinjafik is the annual celebration to welcome it back. Up the snowy crags they've climbed to gaze across the icebergs at the brightening sky and wait. A moment of reflection for the Greenlanders gathered.
Personally, for the new year, I hope things will remain peaceful. I think a lot of people know what's going on right now, and everyone's got their focus and their eyes on Greenland, and for the first time people are really acknowledging us as a population, but it's not in the way I had hoped.
When the
She
sun
said Greenland mention. Oh, wait. she said Greenland mention. Never mind. I didn't like that. You're paying too much attention to us now. I do not like being perceived. Please stop perceiving us. Never mind.
does creep over the horizon. It's shrouded in cloud, and the song
Hand-wringing vassals politely groveling to their king to not pillage their towns. Classic EU moment. It's true. It's sad, but it's true.
songs which usually greet this moment are absent.
The sun may have returned for a new year, but these are not the brightest times for many people in Greenland. With Donald Trump, there is trouble on the horizon.
The US president has not backed down from threats to take over Greenland one way or another, as he puts it, and he's not ruling out military force. The crisis has widened fissures between Europe and the United States, and thought for now...
You mentioned that NATO brought fascism back to Europe. Could you say more about that? I've covered it extensively in the past, but I can't get into it right now. But just Google Operation Gladio or look at who the first German generals were when Germany was introduced into NATO.
The sometimes tricky relationship between Greenland and Denmark. The Danish and Greenlandic foreign ministers are meeting US State Secretary Marco Rubio and Vice President Vance in Washington on Wednesday.
My hope is that Rubio is going to have some humanity in that talk. Yeah.
Carl Sandgreen is an Ilulissat native. He runs the Ice Fjord Centre here, and my questions about Trump's ambitions for his homeland bring out raw feelings.
You make me emotional and angry in the same time.
Hey, Hassan, do you think that the best play for the U.S. is just glass Greenland and Taiwan so it doesn't fall into oppressive Chinese communist hands? It may be a bit overboard, but it's probably the best way to keep those places from falling under Chinese control. Not just Chinese control, Chinese communist control, Chi-Com control. Yeah, I think I'm a reasonable international rule-based order NATO Atlanticist, and I agree with you. Obviously, it seems like it's the final solution or the final option, but some of these people are going to have to die, but I'm okay with that because obviously we would have to relinquish control to a much scarier group of people, which are the Chinese communists. Yeah, it's for our national security. Yeah, the MacArthur method, exactly. I'm American Admiral Curtis LeMay, also known as Bombs Away LeMay. I have a very reasonable middle-of-the-ground position here. We must glass everyone in order not to let them fall into Chinese communist hands.
He's not welcome to, do something like that to us. We are totally different. We are Inuit, and we've been living here for thousands of years. This is my daughter's and my son's future.
Bomber commanders aren't admirals, whatever. I don't know the actual
who are thinking
title.
about resources.
Two hunters gut a seal on the glacial ice of Ilulissat's immense fjord. Though Inuit have been living like this for countless generations, in the span of just one, global warming is changing life here. Donald Trump could bring a shift more rapid still. In Washington, Greenland and Denmark's governments are hunting for an escape. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, Ilulissat, Greenland.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Right now.
By the way, here's Ben Norton, living my dream, living in China, obviously, every single day, saying the leader of NATO made it clear that the U.S.-led imperialist alliance is not only fighting Russia, but also China and North Korea and Iran. Meanwhile, Trump spits in the face of his European allies, and they say, thank you, Daddy. Let's wage more wars on the global south, please. Here is the NATO position.
And yes, it is undeniable that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are aligning more and more. And they are challenging us. But they are only...
What do you mean, us? What do you mean, us? No, they're not. You're not part of the team. You're just literally waiting there to be seized. Okay. This is what I don't understand. It's like you are just a dog to America. You are a servant of American empire. Oh, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we don't let these scary Chinese take us over. It's like, brother, you have already been taken over by America. You are not a part of the team. That's it. Oh my God.
Starting to understand what partnership really means. We are miles ahead. We can build on decades of friendship between our organizations and between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic. And we can build on the growing...
Bro, I swear, America's going to take over. America's going to literally take over other Nordic countries next. They're going to be like, I don't know. They're going to pull a Venezuela on Norway. They're going to be like, a lot of your extraction industries have been nationalized, and I don't think that's appropriate. I think we need to do some free market capitalism here. You know, really fix it up. Kind of feels like you're eating good off of your nationalized oil sector. That's not good.
Partnerships with countries around the world. And
did he say miles ahead instead of kilometers ahead?
Organizations and between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic. And we can build on means.
Did he say miles ahead? No.
What partnership really means. We are miles ahead.
Daddy, I love Daddy Trump.
And between our nations on both sides of the Atlantic.
I'm kidding. It's just an expression.
And we can build on the growing partnerships with countries around the world. And that is an incredible advantage. Let's ensure we retain it.
Nobody says kilometers ahead. Yeah, you've been Americucked from the start, baby. Woo! Woo! America! Waving the flag. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. Liberation time.
It sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country. The United. Are you saying that?
No,
would you do that?
No, you're saying that.
Would you?
I didn't say it. No,
right
you're
now?
telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your network doesn't know either.
The Danish foreign minister said that there's still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland is very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra...
Yeah, they can't even defend themselves from us. Here I am talking about invading it, and they're talking, oh, please don't do it. They're weak, very weak. It's just a test. If they can't defend themselves against us, what makes you think they can defend themselves against Russia, or China? Broski, what are you overall saying? When the only other option was Pact Warszawski, NATO was the best thing in Europe. Also, first German general in NATO was tried for being accused in the failed Adolf assassination attempt. Yeah, he was one of the... First of all, I don't even think that's the case. And secondly, the option is sovereignty. The f*** do you mean? Sovereignty. Actually having sovereignty. Leveraging relationships between the USSR and the United States of America.
Extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan
Thank you
and
for telling me
Iraq.
that. I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with Denmark, and we'll see how it all works out. I think something will work out.
The protests in Iran approaching the 3-week mark.
Yeah, he seems to really appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to get back to Iran right now because there is a no-flight NOTAM issued by Iran, closing the airspace to all flights except international flights to and from Iran with permission. NOTAM is valid for a little more than 2 hours. Here's what the Iranian airspace looks like right now. It was a case where that dude still did participate in war crimes and Holocaust on the front line. I thought there was other generals that were involved in NATO that were just like straightforward Nazis, weren't even a part of any dissent against Adolf Hitler. USS Theodore Roosevelt Nimitz-class aircraft carrier leaving San Diego January 14th. Now, are locals throughout Iraq hear jets overhead? Iraqi sources reporting hearing increased fighter jet activity over the region. Oh, is Israel striking? We'll see. There were like 20 high-ranking Nazis in NATO. I know my yeah. There were definitely pro-Hitler generals in NATO. Orders have been given to the Iranian Air Defense Command to immediately engage any aircraft that enters airspace without prior identification. Okay, maybe things are happening. Fighter jets on Iraq and Iran border. Iraqi news outlet Al Jabal reports that residents heard and observed fighter jets earlier tonight over Basra in southern Iraq, only miles away from the border with Iran. What is this music? Arma 3 footage law? Bro, that's not even, you can't even see what that is. Like, you can't even see what that is to even make out whether or not it's Arma 3 footage or not. Reminder that this is what Trump was tweeting before allowing Israel to strike Iran. Remember, yeah, exactly. That's the reason why I said earlier today when Donald Trump was talking about like, oh, they're not going to execute people anymore. They've stopped killing the protesters, blah, blah, blah. If you recall a couple hours ago, which you can rewind to see my commentary if you're subscribed to the Piker Broadcasting Service. That's right. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. If you'd like to know the news of tomorrow, today, subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service with a free subscription in the form of a Twitch Prime if you choose to do so. There will be no ad breaks here at the Piker Broadcasting Service. And your voluntary contributions are the only thing that helps maintain my editorial independence. As I was saying earlier, Donald Trump did this last time where he was like, we remain committed to diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of obtaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boom. They turned around and bombed Iran, or let Israel bomb Iran only hours after this statement came out. What I think is, that's why I said like perfidy is something that the American government loves doing. So it could totally have been that as well. And even this like aircraft carrier moving is similar to the distractions that they had with the other fighter, with the bomber jets last time around as well. Big Daddy Hoops. Thank you for the 25 Get This subs. Iran's foreign minister, an interview in Fox News to Trump. Do not repeat the mistake you made in June. You know, if you try a failed attempt, you will get the same result. The only thing that I thought would restrain Israel or America is the fact that there aren't enough American defenses in the region right now to successfully defend Israel. And I don't think that Israel's defenses are sufficient. I don't even think Israel's defenses on top of the American American carriers in the region and cruisers in the region were sufficient to defend against Iran when they were striking Tel Aviv. But maybe they believe that Tehran has